Thank you very much. Welcome back to the extravaganza. It's actually only a show. I like to call it an extravaganza, so I do. My next guest is a good friend, a very talented comedian. As a matter of fact, Steve Allen has an entire chapter about him in his new book entitled Funny People. And that's what he is. Please welcome Tom Dreesen.
How do you do?
Have a seat there. I'm sorry I was caught off guard here. I didn't mean to screw up your introduction.
How did you screw up my
Well, I don't know. There's kind of an embarrassing pause there, and when you're about to introduce a world-class entertainer like yourself, you don't want to have an embarrassing pause there.
Yes. You know.
I can do it again, Tom, if you'd like.
Well, I would like to, but we're almost out of time now, as it is, Dave.
Well,
you had that pre-sing 9 numbers.
No.
And, oh, wait a minute. Let me tell you something.
He only did 1 number. It just
He had
seemed
4
like
segments.
no. Tom Father Smith. Did you enjoy that?
Yes, I enjoy. Let me
You're
tell
a
you something.
Catholic, aren't you?
Yes. I was before the show. After I saw the song, I'm now going to temple on Sundays. No, let me tell you something. That's a difficult occupation. My mom always wanted me to grow up to become a priest, and I think it's a tough occupation. Can you imagine giving up your sex life and then once a week people come in to tell you the highlights of theirs?
It'd be tough. It'd be difficult.
Now, I knew a minister in Chicago who did stand-up comedy, and this is truth. His name was Tom Cross, ironically. No, his name was Reverend Tom Cross. I mean, that was his stage name. His real name was Joseph Crucifixion. Was it?
No, hey, wait a minute here.
By the way, a little history for you here. I am a Catholic, and I'm very proud of that. In the history of the Catholic Church, there's only been 2 crucifixions. One, of course, was Jesus, and the other was an old lady who hollered out bingo one night, and she didn't have it. Did you ever get the feeling God
known biblical fact, huh?
Did you ever get the feeling God invented bingo for women who were too old to bowl or something?
Yeah.
I didn't think that feeling was funny, but anyhow.
Is this true? You were an altar boy? Is that correct?
Yes, I was an altar boy.
Yeah.
And a very good altar boy, as a matter of fact. I told you my mom wanted me to become a priest.
Is there good money in that?
Yeah, whatever you can steal out of the collection.
Oh, no, you don't want to be given that impression.
Occasionally I took a dime or 2, I have to admit. But then I went to confession, and he gave me absolution, and I went back and stole 50 cents and a dollar next week.
I can't believe that would actually...
I think all altar boys have done that at one time.
Really? Borrowed some dough?
Yeah, occasionally you get, they pass the batch, you see all that money laying up front, and you get the feeling that if you just lift 1 or 2, God isn't going to know about it, If God can let a priest sing, he can let me cop $2 or $3 out of the basket.
So, Chicago, baseball season's in full swing. How are the Cubs doing?
The Cubs stand a chance at the pennant this year. Incidentally, I'm glad you brought that up, Dave, because after I do a couple of funny stories, I like to take off the old jacket, put on the old Cub jacket here. I got this from the Chicago Cubs, by the way. They're in town beating the Mets right now, about 6-5 or something.
Really, are they?
Yeah. Well, they're playing the Mets, Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Don't boo him. He's only been on the air a couple months. Give him a chance, will you? And by the way, David, I have this for you. This is from the Chicago Cubs. It's an autographed baseball from every Cub of the 1982 season.
No kidding.
Right?
Now, I know that once the show's over, you're going to ask for this back.
No, I'm not.
I mean, don't give me this nonsense. I know you want this baby back. No, I can actually have that?
You can have that, Dave. I want you to put that on your mantle next to the...
How about the jacket? Is there any chance I could have the jacket?
You're pushing it, Dave. You're pushing it. Dave, I want you to put that on the mantle next to the Emmy that you got for the other show that was canceled. No, wait a minute. Now, I told you not to boo him. Give him a shot at it, will you?
Oh, my.
Would you
turning
do me a favor?
ugly here.
Doing our interview.
Well, that's very nice. I'll
treasure that.
Yeah, I'll be happy
Could
to
you
have
wear
that.
this during the rest of the interview?
No, I'm not gonna put that. I can't. I tell you, I'm learning to love the Mets and the Yankees. I just can't. No, well,
That's you throw a Cub hat. That's like throwing down the American flag.
I shouldn't have thrown the Cub hat because a lot of folks in Chicago watch the program.
That's right, and this is the year of the Cubs now. A lot of people think a fan is somebody who goes to the ballpark when the team is in first place. A fan is somebody who'd go to Wrigley Field last game in September The Cubs are 102 games out. And you think they still got a chance. Now, I've been there, 45 people in the whole ballpark. The crowd was so intimate, instead of the national anthem, we sang Feelings. One vendor, I said, could I have a hot dog? He's only got one, just take a bite. Now, you go to a Cub ball game, I'm serious, in the fourth inning, you hear the announcer say things like, will the lady with the lost 9 children please claim them? They're beating the Cubs 11-0.
You're quite a baseball historian yourself. We had Mr. Greenspan here, and you know the origin.
Wonderful.
You know the origin of the 7th inning stretch. Is that correct?
Do you know, by any chance?
I have no idea.
This is true. I'm not making this up. I think it was President Coolidge was attending a baseball game in the 1920s or something, and in the 7th inning, he stood up to stretch, just to stretch, and the audience, out of respect for him, stood up and stretched. And thus was a 7th inning stretch. I'm not making that up. I mean, fortunately, it wasn't like President Gerald Ford. He'd have stood up, slipped, banged his head on the railing. Well, it feels good. We're halfway through. Stand up and stretch. Don't you feel good? Stand up, everybody. Stand up. Stretch a little bit. Come on, stand up. Doesn't it feel good? What a dumb audience. They'll do anything.
This is a fine audience.
Doesn't it feel good? Yeah, there you go. Stretch a little bit.
It's a handsome looking. We get the best looking studio audience.
There you go.
Well,
that was the origin of the 7th inning stretch.
You've thrown a chair. You've come in here. You've got the audience doing burpees in the aisles. You go back to Chicago frequently these days?
Yes, I go back. Well, I'm going back May 23rd to be serious for a moment. I'm doing a benefit. A kid I grew up with, a fellow I grew up with, had an unfortunate thing. His name is Tommy Mokas. He's a very brave guy, and so he doesn't mind me talking, but he had to have both of his legs amputated, and we're throwing a big benefit for him at the Sabre Room in Chicago, which is very important. I do a lot of benefits a year, as you know, for them, and also a while back I did a benefit for Alcoholics Anonymous in honor of a lot of people you know back in Indianapolis. Ma and your sister and a few of those folks. Anyhow, this is interesting. I don't know if you know this or not, if you're aware of this. I do not know anything about the Alcoholics Anonymous, but they are wonderful people, and I went to do this benefit, and they don't ask you. Now, if you go to an Alcoholics Anonymous benefit, there's 1,000 people there. Some are alcoholic, and some are the spouses of these alcoholics, and they don't say to you, are you an alcoholic? What they do is they say to you, are you on the program? So when I walked in the door, I was doing a show for them. This lady said to me, real old lady, she said, hi, are you on the program? I thought she meant, was I on the show? So I said, yes. She said, that's wonderful. How long have you been on the program? I said, I'm not going on for about an hour. She said, son, don't put it off. I said, I'm not. I just want to get a drink first, you know.
We're going to have to pause, but we'll be right back. Thank you very much. Just a second to let the folks in Chicago know I was kidding about the Cubs. Gosh, if I were there, I'd be rooting for them extra hard out there in Wrigley Field. I'd love to wear this hat. It's a little too small. That's why I know Tom really didn't intend on giving it to me.
That's right.
Thanks, everybody in the studio audience, for being here. Also, my thanks to Father Tom Smith, Mr. Bud Greenspan, Tom Dreesen, Paul Schaefer, and Bill Wendell. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Our next guest is a good friend of ours and a very funny gentleman. He'll be performing his one-man show entitled An Evening of Laughter and Memories of Frank Sinatra at the theater at the Center in Munster, Indiana on June 13th. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Tom Dreesen. Munster, Indiana. Up there by Gary, I think is where that is. Tom Dreesen, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Well, Tom, it's nice to see you. Wow. You and I go back a long time. I'm very near the end of my run here, and you and I have known each other, is it close to 40 years? More than 40?
Little over 40 years.
Little over 40 years.
I was with you the first time you ever went up on stage. I watched you do stand-up.
At the Comedy Store right there on Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, and we also worked a place called Showbiz at Murray Langston.
Out in the valley on Lancashire.
And I have a card at home of the lineup that night, all brand new comedians. Tom Dreesen, David Letterman, Jay Leno, Robin Williams, Gallagher, Michael Keaton, and the girl waiting tables was Deborah Winger.
Whoa, man.
And to this day, people say, who's Tom Dreesen? It was a great start.
and another thing about that club, which was way out in the San Fernando Valley, is where I found my first dog, Bob.
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's
correct. He was in the kitchen of this place,
Yeah.
eating a cheeseburger off the floor.
Yeah, and Bob, and you had another dog named Stan.
Stan,
and you had
that's
a goldfish named Rita.
I don't recall Rita.
Yeah, I recall Rita. Yeah. Don't we have a picture of you, me, and George when we started out?
This would be, yeah, we have several pictures. We have you and me and George Miller. There we are, right there.
Yeah. That's when we started. By the way, I'll show you, that was at the Ice House in Pasadena. I'll show you how old that picture is. Look over David's head. That's a payphone. You never see those anymore.
But seriously, would you pick any one of these guys up hitchhiking? look at George.
See,
he just got trouble written all over him, doesn't he?
You know, I said something funny that you thought was funny, and George thought, like he always thought, that nothing you say, Dreesen, is funny. He had the greatest line about me at a roast one night. You were the master of ceremonies, and his line about me was, the LA police stopped Tom Dreesen, and they said, do you want to talk here or down at the station? And Dreesen said, both, and in the car. I love George. He was such a funny guy.
Yeah, very funny kid.
Yeah.
And we also had the basketball team.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that we had a Comedy Store basketball team. We were out at the Comedy Store. I think you have a photo of that.
Who did we play?
We were 17-0 that year, believe it or not. We played. There's a Comedy Store basketball team. Look at, you see, Big Roger in the middle, who's no longer with they were with comedy team Roger and Roger. You got Jimmy Walker, you got Johnny Witherspoon. I'm on next to Spoon. I was captain of that team. You're on the far end. You're the power forward over there. Look at Dave.
That's right.
You're a power forward. The Mooney Twins, you know.
Number 9, ladies and gentlemen.
Number 9.
Number 1 in your heart.
Oh, that's Tim Reed.
Tim Reed.
And that's Tim Reed next to him. And we played in Van Nuys Y. We played against teams over there. We played at halftime at the Laker Stadium one time at halftime at the Forum. We played, and I remember this story, the greatest ad-lib under pressure I've ever seen in my life, in my show business career. We went to the Laker game when no one knew who any of us were.
Oh, I remember this. It was you, it was me, it was George, it was Johnny Witherspoon.
Johnny Witherspoon. I think Johnny Dark and Kelly Monteith might have been with us.
Yeah, but maybe so.
We got to the game way early so we could watch them practice. Now, there was no one, in our seats, we were up in the cheap seats, we didn't have any money. There was no one around us. And I don't know where this guy came from, but the most menacing-looking man I've ever seen in my life had a scruffy beard. He had a watch cap and a raggedy old coat, and he wandered, and he sat right next to Dave. And I went, oh my God. And he reached inside of his coat, and he pulled out a knife this big, not a switchblade, like a hunting knife. And he laid it in his hand.
Yeah, he had it right there on his lap.
Yeah, and he said to Dave, without looking at Dave, he said, you got any money? And Dave said, no, but ask around.
Oh my God!
We had so much fun.
Didn't we have a lot of fun then? You excited about baseball?
Well, the Cubs are in first place, Dave.
Is that a fact? Yeah. Really?
The Chicago Cubs are in first place, half a game. But you know, anytime the Cubs are anywhere near first place, we're ecstatic. I'm going back June 24th to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Can I practice? Take me out to the ball. Okay. Thank you.
No song.
I remember when I used to sing to Harry to sleep, "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." He loved it. Yeah. I did Tracy Chapman's version of that. By the way, I saw a woman with tortillas all over said she hates you.
I know. It's been a tough night. Now tell us, I understand that this story, unlike previous stories, is accompanied by some video of Frank Sinatra.
Oh, yeah. You know, this is my final Frank Sinatra story on your show, Dave. Wow. But I've told so many stories on the show. My one-man show.
By the way, did you see the documentary on HBO?
I did,
Frank
yes.
Sinatra?
I did.
What did you think?
I found it very interesting. And what was really interesting to me in that 4-hour documentary is how many of those stories Frank personally told me late at night or when we were on the road and stuff like that. It was really, really kind of, and they showed a lot of his flaws. He was a flawed man, but he was the most extraordinary talent show business has ever known. And so the mixture of those, it was all there. It's a great documentary.
Yeah, good.
You know. But anyhow, this one time, this is I always made Frank laugh. I love to make him laugh. But this is one time he was getting the Will Rogers Award. For you young folks who do not know, Will Rogers was a great stand-up comedian, a great comedian who once said, "I never met a man I didn't like." And they were giving Frank this award for charity. I never met a man I didn't like. It's hardly the award you would give to Frank Sinatra. And everybody was buzzing about it in the audience. Frank Sinatra's getting an award. I never met a man I didn't like.
Yeah.
And then I had to get up and speak, and this is what I said. Frank Sinatra punched every man Will Rogers ever liked.
Wow.
Broke up the chairman. He did it.
I love making him laugh. Before you do that, I want to say something here, pal. I don't have a gift for you except to tell you that you're the best friend that a guy could ever have, and that I wish for you that you get half the joy in your retirement that you've given to the world.
Oh, that's very sweet.
I love you, pal.
God bless you, Tommy. Thank you very much. You've always been great for us.
My brother.
An evening of laughs and memories, Frank Sinatra Theater at the Center in Munster, Indiana, June the 13th. It'll be a great night. We'll be right back with Tracy Chapman, everybody. Thank you.